Hi, welcome to this episode of Thai Food. On this episode, in case you couldn't tell, I'm going to make some iced tea. Now, we buy the 1 gallon tea bags by Lipton, and I have a coffee maker that is known as my tea maker because I strictly use this for tea only. In fact, I've even got it labeled as such. Okay? Any coffee we make goes through our Keurig. So, I bought this specifically just for making tea because I didn't want anything that tasted like coffee, when I drink it. So, unless I'm having coffee, of course. So, for this, and, well, trying to figure out which way I want to go here. Let's start with this. This is a 2 gallon cold vessel. Basically, it's got a spigot on it. Move that so you can see the spigot, so that you can dispense liquids out of it. And what we do is we keep this in the refrigerator after we make our tea and put it in there. So we'll make the tea, put it in there, add our sugar in there, give everything a stir, and then it goes right into the refrigerator. It'll get cold overnight, and you got tea the next day. Or just put some ice in your cup and dispense it. But since it's a 2 gallon container, I'm going to take 2 of our 1 gallon tea bags, and inside here I've got a strainer, and you can see it's well seasoned. We've been using it a lot, and of course it's got this part here that comes with it. I had to buy the strainer extra, but it was worth the investment because in case this tea bag ruptured, it catches all the fine tea. But not only that, it leaves it open so that if I wanted to get loose leaf tea off the internet and do a bunch of different flavors, I could do that this way. So another reason I wanted the screen mesh filter. So I got them in there, and as you can see, we keep the tea in a Ziploc bag after we open the container, or I should say the box, and that way there, try to keep it as fresh as possible. And a 48 count is about $11 for these tea bags. So it's not terribly expensive. And the sugar, well, you can get a 25-pound bag sugar for under $10 around here. So, not expensive at all. A lot cheaper than going to McDonald's and paying $1 for 16 ounces of tea with ice. So, got that. I'm going to fill this up. You want to fill this up with a good filtered water to maximum capacity. And that wasn't enough water, so I happen to have a gallon standing by. As you can see in the other corner, I've got a couple of them waiting because my water filter really can't keep up sometimes with as much water as we use. So we just kind of fill gallon jugs. And I use the Hawaiian Punch jugs because they're a lot thicker than your standard water jug, and they seem to last better and better handle, I think, to hold them with. So we got that all full, and we're going to click this on. And at this point, we're going to let this brew and do its thing. But one thing I like to do while it's brewing, I like to go ahead and get my sugar in. So, as you can see, I got my sugar hopper here. As I mentioned before, you can get 25 pounds of sugar for under $10. Lo and behold, I buy it by the 25-pound bag. Mainly because we go through a lot of sugar making sweet tea ourselves. I'm hoping it's healthier than soda. I can't back that up though, and it frankly doesn't matter because I don't drink a whole lot of tea myself. My kids mostly drink it more than I do, and my wife. During the week I might have 2 mugs, 32-ounce mugs. So we got 1 cup going in. 2 cups. 3. 4. 5. And 6. There we are. Now, for an average batch, this is probably where you want to stop. But this is the South, and we like our southern sweet tea here. So we're going to add 1 more cup for good measure. So when we're all said and done here, we'll have some liquid diabetes going on. So you can see we got 7 cups of sugar in there. So like I said before, we go through a lot of sugar sometimes. But it is what it is. It's what we like, so it's what we make. I actually prefer tea over coffee myself. So at this point, I'm just waiting for this to play catch up. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this while I'm waiting for this to catch up to me, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so as you can hear, this is finishing up with the boiling of the water and sending it up through here. We're just going to pop this open and make sure we get all the little droplets off. Because otherwise, it might scare you when you pick it up, because the water will run off, it'll fall in there, and then it'll start hissing as it hits the heater. So at that point, I'm just going to do that because it's already gurgling, so I'm used to the noise. I have scared myself though. You know, you pick it up and it starts hissing and bubbling, and you're like, what the heck is that? And I'm not easily excitable either. So this has got the pause for brewing function. So I'm just going to lift this up like so and turn it. And what that does is it stops the liquid from going down in. And that way there we don't make a mess. And we're going to slowly pour this in and rinse the sugar off the funnel. You know, because when you're putting 7 cups of sugar, every granule counts. You don't want to rush this part. If you rush it, then you're going to have hot tea all over. Been there, done that. Okay. Wipe the lip, stick it back in there. And there we go. Now we need to top this off again. All the way up to the max. Well, pretty close to it. You want to be just below the 12 for cups. See what I mean by that puff of steam there? As soon as the water hit it. Right about there. And I'm about 11 cups. And the reason I did that is because this time through, the tea bags aren't going to be absorbing any of the liquid. They've already got max capacity. So they're just going to start filtering the water through them again. And while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to go ahead and start mixing my sugar in. Because this way here, the sugar will be all mixed in and dissolved. And then all we do is just add more tea to it and dilute what we got. That, and it kind of hardens on the bottom here if you don't get it mixing. Another good tip is wait until you've got 1 decanter, as they call it, of tea in here, and then add the sugar, which I think I normally do that, but I actually haven't made tea in a while. My wife's been making it. Usually I'm at work while she's doing it. So I'm trying to remember how I used to do it as I go here, because I do it a little differently than she does. So you can see, I'm sure you can see the sugar mixing around in here as I'm moving the spoon. And you want a nice long spoon to get down in there. And this decanter is going to be the most concentrated of the tea. A lot more so than the next subsequent ones. But it's still going to be adding tea flavor to it. If you were to just top this off with water at this point, it tastes kind of weak as far as tea goes. I'm just kind of working all the corners, making sure we get this mixed in and get it saturated with the sugar. Make sure I work it where the spout is, in case any sugar built up in the spout, which I'm sure it probably did. you go to take your first cup and you get a blast of sugar that's undissolved. And I'll mix this again after I add the next one too, just to make sure I got it all dissolved. And then when we mix the last one, really won't have to worry about it as much. So at this point, I'm going to pause for the cause because this isn't keeping up, of course. And that's just typical for the course, you know. You got to wait a little bit for it to brew. So we're going to take another pause here and we'll come back when it's just about finished up again. Okay, as you can hear, this is finally finishing up again. So I'm just going to finish the same procedure that I did last time here. Knock all this condensation down on it. Let it finish gurgling. And then we'll pick up and rotate our basket again. And as you can see, the level here is almost identical to what we had over here as far as water level. So, and then we're going to do one more half decanter. So that means we're going to get it up to about 6 over here, right about in there. And we'll brew that, and then that'll be it. And then we'll top it off with just fresh, clean water after that. That's good enough there. Pick this up, give it a spin. Alrighty. As you can see, the color of the tea is a lot lighter in color now. But don't be mistaken, it's still full of flavor. That's why we're using it. And it's a little bit of a process for making sweet tea here. You may say it's just easier to go get it at McDonald's, but believe me, McDonald's ain't as good as this. I know, I've tried. Alrighty. Pour this in. Get the puff of smoke. Or steam, not smoke. And there we are. We're just a little bit above 6 cups. Shut that down and let it go to town. Give this a stir, and I'm sure our sugar's all dissolved at this point. And this is, fairly warm on the outside as well. So I did mention I was going to top this off with water. Obviously, you could top it off with ice if you've got enough ice available, and you wanted it instant serve. You can just top this off with ice and then put ice in the cups as you serve it. The way I make this, even though I'm making 2 gallons at once with only 2 bags like the box says to do, it's still pretty much concentrated. So it could use a little diluting with some water or some ice, Other than that, if you like a nice strong tea, you're good to go. So we're just going to wait for this to finish up the last 6 cups of brewing, and we'll be right back to you after a brief pause. Alright, and our final filtration here is finishing up. Wasn't sure what to call it there, but go ahead and get all the droplets down in there again. This time I want to try to let it drain as much as possible here. Just spitting steam at this point, so I'm going to take my spoon and press on my tea bags. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of squeezing them. It's a little hot there, of course, but I want to make sure I get all the excess water out of this before I toss these bags out. Less weight in the garbage bags when I take it to the dump. You can see it's not really dripping much, so set on a paper towel here. clear all the liquids out of that. That'll get rinsed out. And as you can see, this is even lighter yet. And there's probably more flavor in those bags that we could try to extract, but at this point it's kind of mute, because then any further than this, you're just gonna keep, diluting the tea. And what we want to do is we want to top this off with cool water to help cool it down for the refrigerator. That's where we're going with it. Wanted to say icebox for some reason, but that's pretty much all I do for brewing. Just give this a quick stir real quick. Not that it really needed it to mix in, but and then at this point I'm going to top it off with water. And I'm going to go right up to this silver ring right here, right around in that area. And like I said before, instead of topping it off with water, you can start putting ice in it at this point. And you can see I finally emptied that one out. I kept refilling it when I was paused with water from my filter. But like I said, it can only produce so much filtered water at the moment. Alrighty. Get this fully topped off. There we are. That's as full as it needs to be now. And just give it a stir to make sure it's all mixed. There we are. We now have 2 gallons of Southern sweet tea, folks. And of course, we want to make sure it tastes good before we serve it to other people. So I just happen to have my handy dandy mug sitting by that I put my sweet tea in. And yes, I use a straw in a mug. Don't judge me. I don't like trying to drink and have a chunk of ice come through and choke on it. Alrighty. I got that full. Give that a spin around. Mix the ice in here to try to get this cooled down for me. Not a big fan of lukewarm tea. If I want to drink tea, it's either hot or it's cold. I don't really care for it lukewarm. But get the ice mixed in here. And let's see if I remembered this correctly. Oh yeah. That's perfect right there. So that, folks, is how you can make your own homemade Southern sweet tea by the 2 gallons. I believe this container was only like 15 bucks at most at Walmart. It's probably even cheaper than that. But the season is coming up and they're getting them back in stock again. So if you want to do it this way and have a dedicated spot in your fridge for it, you can do that like we do. Or you could just do this and add ice to it. But I wouldn't let this sit on the counter and get warm, because if you let it sit there at least overnight or a couple days, then it's going to start turning to alcohol, and the tea won't taste so good then. Trust me. Even if I leave my mug out overnight and the ice melts and it gets warm, it starts turning. So don't leave it out too long. Keep it refrigerated, and feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you click the little bell icon, it'll notify you when I upload a new video. Check out my Facebook page, Thai Food. I'm on Instagram under Thai Food, and I'm on actually Instagram's Thai Food on YouTube, but Twitter is Thai Food as well. But all that information is down underneath the description of the video, so you can check there and find out everything. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good one.